Good morning. Welcome. I'm Carol Plumlee, and I'm a member of the board at UUCR Church in Reston. Whether you are on Zoom or here in the church sanctuary, we are so glad you're with us here this morning. No matter how old or how young you are, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, however you identify and whomever you love, know you are welcome here. Music director Cynthia Young is off today, but she planned the music for today's service. David Niemi is serving as the hymn leader today, and Diane Carsten-Pelak is our accompanist today, so thank you both. We do have a few announcements this morning. Number one, our neighboring UU congregation of Fairfax is one of the over 200 UU churches that have adopted the 8th principle. Please join us after the worship service today to hear UUCF's experience in considering and implementing the 8th principle. This event will begin 15 minutes after the service ends and will be held in the sanctuary and in the same Zoom space as today's worship service.
We'll ring a bell. Okay.
Yes, we will. We're going to get everyone here. Child care and children's activities will be provided. Number two, religious education registration and volunteer sign up are now open. Please pick up this flyer at the table in the East Foyer and follow the address or QR code to register children from nursery through 12th grade. Registration is required, even for children that were registered for the current church year. If you don't have children in the program, please stop by the table to see what's happening in RE and consider volunteering. Families will greatly appreciate your time and presence, and you will make a difference in their lives. Look for an email being sent this afternoon with information about volunteering and RE registration. Number three, don't miss Community Fun Night this Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. in the sanctuary. There will be fun activities, dinner, and lots of fellowship. Learn more on the calendar or in the Connection newsletter. Lastly, please mark your calendar for the annual fiscal meeting, which will be held after worship on May 21st. At the meeting, church members will vote on adopting the proposed budget for the 2023-24 year. Members will also vote on the adoption of the 8th principle. A meeting notice with further information will be mailed to church members this week. Now, let us center ourselves for worship. Please take some deep, quieting breaths with me. Let us enter our time of worship together as we listen to this morning's prelude.
Hey, first off, congratulations on successfully calling your new settled minister, Aileen Fitzke. Give yourself a round of applause. You got to put up with me until August 1st when she starts. So you still got me a little while, and we're glad to be here together this morning. Look forward to many good years with Aileen. Our opening words this morning come from the inscription on a sundial at the University of Virginia. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision, but today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day, our opening hymn, Morning So Fair to See.
Please rise in body or spirit and join in our opening hymn, number 42 in the gray hymnal. Morning so fair to see, night veiled in mystery, glorious the earth and resplendent skies. Pilgrims we march along, singing our joyous song as through an earthly paradise. All of the verdant trees, deep are the flashing seas, glorious each one under the seasons bring. Brighter is face surmise, shining in pilgrims' eyes, from which our waking spirits spring. Age after age we rise, beneath the eternal skies, into the light from the shadowed past. Still shall our pilgrim song, buoyant and brave and strong, resound while life and mountains last.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Lesley Tyson, one of your worship associates. Our chalice lighting words this morning come from Christian de la Huerta. We must shine. We must shine now. This is the goal toward which we stretch, step by step, in our own time, at our own pace. As our beauty unfolds and our hearts open, we become gentler and more compassionate, yet brighter, more empowered and fearless. We have been holding on. We have been holding back, playing small, hiding our light under a bushel. Enough of that. It is time to let go. We are needed now, all of us together. All those who feel a calling to be who we are to the fullest, make a difference, to give it all we've got.
Every week we sing a covenant. Please remain seated while we sing the covenant, and if this is your first time at the church, please take this as our blessing to you. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is a great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another in fellowship.
Now is the time for all ages. So if you're feeling young of body or young of spirit, come on up. There's room on the floor, and we have lots of seats up front. If you're on Zoom, you can sit in the front or on the floor. And if you're on Zoom, you have one of the best seats in the house already. So welcome. If you have a large plate of food in front of you, do you eat the food that you like most best, or like most first?
Yes.
If so, raise your hand. How many of you do that? Okay. And how many people save the best for last? I see about a split there. Yes. Well, growing up, I saved the best for last. I would eat things like liver and cooked cabbage first, and save things like mashed potatoes or macaroni and cheese for later, so I could look forward to it. And so my meal would end with that good taste in my mouth. What's liver taste like? You maybe need to ask your mom about that.
Spare the innocent, Linda.
What?
Spare the innocent.
Yeah. That's up to your parents, yes, if you want to find out. So, yeah. Well, one day I was eating lunch in the school cafeteria with my friends, and one of them looked over and pointed at my tray and said, "Linda, you don't like baked apples?" I said, "Baked apples are my favorite. I'm saving it for last." Another friend looked over, and the two of them started saying things like, "What? Why are you doing that?" In my family, if I didn't eat my favorite food first, one of my older brothers or sisters would take it and eat it. Well, that's something I'd never heard of before. Those friends had both of them had 5 brothers and sisters. I just had one younger brother who would rather go out and play than sit and eat. So if I left my favorite food for last, I was ensured that I'd be able to eat it. So there's different perspectives. But I wonder if any of you have had parents or teachers tell you, do what you like first. Go out and play, then do your homework. No? A few people may have had that happen, but mostly no. Yeah. There are lots of things we have to do to be healthy and to care for ourselves. We have to exercise, eat healthy foods, and do work for school and for our jobs, right? But some adults learn this lesson of waiting too well. They forget to ever eat their favorite foods, or do the things that bring them joy, or make time for friends. Reverend Scott will be talking more about this with the adults later in the service, but we hope that everyone, young and old alike, will remember that it's important to make time for joy in the midst of all these other things that we need to do. Or, in other words, you might take the advice I heard many times from a member at a neighboring UU church: you only live once. Eat your dessert first. They were lucky and didn't do it all the time. We'll now sing the children out. 8th grade and below are invited to go with us to meet in religious education. And okay, Dave will be leading you.
Joy be yours through all your days. Live and learn to serve the world and dance, dance on your way. Go with joy, may your way be peace. Joy be yours through all your days. Live and learn to serve the world and dance, dance on your way.
So now is the time in our service when we share our joys and concerns so that no one ever has to hold them alone. If you are joining us remotely this morning on Zoom, as about 50 people do every Sunday, we urge you to light a candle, a virtual candle or a real candle if you will. And if you wish to share a joy or concern, you may do so in the chat on the Zoom, but do remember that that then becomes public. As those here in the sanctuary who have a joy or a sorrow or a concern on their heart, come forward, take a stone for each of those, place them in the receptacle which holds so much of our love, and they may take a stone from around the vessel if they wish to take home with them to remind them this week of what is on their heart. May our ritual of joys, sorrows, and concerns now begin. Let us be one in spirit. Spirit of life and love, which so faithfully animates this complicated creation of ours. We are grateful for this community that is with us and remains with us in both times of joy and sorrow. And we hold in our hearts this morning all who are facing any hardship or difficulty, all those who are aggrieved, facing illness or disability in themselves or those around them. In particular this morning, as I know we all feel, all we hold in our hearts, all those affected by the 3 mass shootings just this weekend in America, most especially the mall shooting yesterday in Allen, Texas. And to all of us, all of our anxieties, our sadness, our anger, and our grief over this senseless dynamic of our national life. Whether shared here this morning or held silently in our hearts, may our joys be multiplied in community, and may all gathered here this hour find comfort and calm. Amen.
The second Sunday of each month is our dedicated offering to an organization chosen by the Social Justice and Action Committee. All of today's offering, except for pledge payments, which should be clearly marked, will go to the Refugee Asylum Seeker and Immigrant Campaign. In recent years, UUCR has supported international families and children who, after fleeing persecution, wish to start a new life in the United States. We've helped a refugee family from Iran, families of evacuees from Afghanistan, and families from Latin America seeking asylum in the US. The Refugee Asylum Seeker and Immigrant Campaign provides funding, food, clothing, transportation, and other essentials to welcome and help families acclimate to Northern Virginia. Volunteers also provide pro bono legal advice and additional support to our immigrant neighbors seeking legal asylum. You may make your donation at the link in the chat and on the order of service, entering your donation into the Charity of the Month donation box in the online form. You can also write a check to UUCR with Rossi in the memo. Put it in the offering basket or mail it to the church. And of course, you may put cash in the offering basket. Thank you for your generous support of this important community resource.
So to get us going on my theme of Carpe Diem, I have this wonderful clip from the movie Dead Poets Society, which stars Robin Williams. And in this clip, He's giving one of his several lessons, life lessons, to the young men in his charge. And at the very end, he whispers to them, and you may not be able to hear what he whispers, so I'm going to tell you. He says, Carpe diem, seize the day. Watch the clip. Seize the day, boys. So back when I lived in New Jersey in the 1980s, serving our congregation in the very old city of Plainfield, I was an avid runner in my late 30s. Ah, those were the days. Running mostly 8 to 12 miles a day, which explains why at 74 I have 2 artificial knees. And I'm obliged now to cycle for my exercise, but that's a whole nother story. For many years, I ran every noon from the YMCA in downtown Plainfield, and I met a guy named Stan Joy who ran an oil company, and his name was rather ironic because he was one of the most joyless people I'd ever met. He was a grumpy, conservative entrepreneur with a rather negative outlook on life. But anyway, we got to like each other as running buddies. And so we ran every day almost. We had a jogging friendship that never transcended jogging. We never had dinner together or anything like that. But I'll never forget one glorious autumn day that we took together. I want to see, there's that picture. It was a late October New Jersey day, absolutely magnificent. The air was crisp and cool and snapped into your lungs. The sky, bright, deep blue with not a cloud to be seen. And the golden sunlight through the trees made everything look radiant. As Stan and I ran down a quiet suburban street in Scotch Plains, the squirrels were busily scurrying about, happily gathering food for the winter, and countless leaves, where it was a warm day, so they fall off more in the warm days. They were cascading down to their winter graves. It was as beautiful an autumn day as I've ever experienced. And as we ran side by side, and the city had, the residents had all swept their big piles of leaves into the side of the street. Stanley was droning on about how the government was screwing up this or that. And I just got so tired of listening to him, I just dove headfirst into one of the great big 5-foot piles of leaves and completely disappeared. And he kept running, complaining about the government, and he must have been 20 yards past me when he turned around and couldn't see me anywhere, and my head popped out of the leaves, and I had hair then. I got the leaves out of my hair, and he laughed, and I laughed, and I got out of the pile, beautiful aromatic smell to the leaves, and I just couldn't help myself from that joyous headfirst dive. So we get running again, and Stanley is quiet for about a minute. And then he says, all right, wise guy, what if there had been a big pile of dog doo-doo in those leaves right where you dove in? And I laughed at the image of myself, cleaning myself up from dog doo-doo for my reckless act of joyful abandon. But later that afternoon, when I was in the office alone back in Plainfield, I thought to myself, but Stan, there wasn't a pile of dog, you know what, waiting for me. There was nothing but clean, inviting, aromatic, brightly colored leaves. And as I thought more about Stan's sarcastic suggestion, I came to realize a spiritual truth that I believe in, namely that one's attitude in any given moment goes a long way to determine what you will encounter along the way. So if you believe that dog, you know what, is waiting for you in an inviting leaf pile, you will find it, friends. It'll be there for you, or a trash can or a broken tricycle. It'll be there for you, I promise you. But if you're just naturally ebullient, things like this won't happen. Life has this regular curious habit, I think, of rising or lowering itself to our expectations. Not always, but generally speaking. So I urge you, friends, next time you see an inviting autumn leaf pile or a drift of pure white snow or a big ocean wave that you think you can dive headfirst into, go ahead and do it. What the heck? What's to be lost? This morning, My spiritual focus, which that wonderful video clip introduced, is on the ancient Roman idea of Carpe Diem. The definition of Carpe Diem, which I have for you up on the screen, is to pick or pluck, used by Horace, the ancient Roman poet, to mean joy, enjoy, seize, make use of. Diem, of course, is day, carpe is pluck. So the literal translation of Carpe Diem would be pluck the day as it is ripe, or seize or enjoy the moment. So that spontaneous, joyful encounter I had with those autumn leaves in New Jersey was a pure Carpe Diem moment, if there ever was one. Seize the day, my heart cried, and I did. And I didn't pay any unpleasant consequences for it. Now, in general, this Carpe Diem impulse seems humanly, spiritually wise and fun and useful, doesn't it? In this fleeting and temporal life that we have all been given, that we all so mysteriously find ourselves in, it behooves us to regularly seize the day, to take joy where it is available. Eat the ice cream first, if you will, and don't deny ourselves the little pleasures of every day that life presents itself. But the admonition, seize the joy as it passes, is apparently easier said than done for many of us. Recent studies, New York Times Health and Science editor John Tierney says that recent studies indicate, quote, many human beings fall victim to the strange impulse to put off until tomorrow what could be enjoyed today. And he writes this in the Health and Science section of the New York Times, reporting on recent studies from psychologists and behavioral economists indicating that many of us put off enjoying today until tomorrow. We resist the impulse. He says what he urges, Tierney urges us, is to resist that impulse to delay gratification and, quote, start having fun now. And he begins his article by describing the widespread and largely irrational economic phenomenon that you may not know about of people putting off things like using free airline miles, gift cards, and store coupons past their expiration dates. Any of you guilty of that? Raise your hands. Aha! He points out that we human beings often instinctively postpone joy-giving activities, quote, procrastinating pleasure until that pleasure is no longer available, largely because, studies indicate, we Homo sapiens are somehow sadly inclined to wait for that perfect moment to find pleasure. As an example of how to avoid this self-defeating behavior, he mentions the holiday gift cards that millions of us receive every Christmas, a significant portion of which, you may not know, never get cashed. Billions of dollars of them never get cashed in America. $45 billion each year. Tierney rightly asks, how can you avoid this temptation to postpone pleasure, waiting too long, as many of us do, for that perfect moment or a more perfect outcome? Well, as economic behaviorist Dr. Suzanne Shu of UCLA writes, quote, one immediate strategy is to cash in quickly any gift certificate you receive this holiday season. Spend it before New Year's, you fools. That way, she writes, you don't forget to use them or lose them before they expire. And then she goes on, and one of the best presents you can give back to the giver is to use it quickly and then tell them how much you enjoyed the gift. And taking immediate pleasure, then you give a gift both to yourself and the gift giver. And Tierney goes on to point out that this widespread, self-defeating, self-diminishing dynamic of, quote, procrastinating pleasure operates across other venues of our living as well. Years ago, I had a wonderful ministerial colleague, I won't give you his name, a kind and dignified and hardworking minister that everyone admired in the UUA. When the time came for he and his wife to retire in their early 70s after 5 decades of faithfully serving churches, he decided to, quote, keep working a little longer, convinced that he just hadn't quite saved enough. He had a special needs child, hadn't quite saved enough for a truly enjoyable retirement. So finally, well and out into his late 70s and really tired of the ministry's long and demanding hours, he and his wife announced their retirement, made an offer, bought their dream house, signed the contract, went out to lunch, and he proceeded to drop dead face first into his soup. Literally minutes after signing documents for his retirement home. If you put that into a novel, your editor would say, take that out, that's too fake. It happened to someone I knew and liked. Poet Jane Kenyon, some of you know her work. She was a New Hampshire poet. One of her poems that I just love is entitled Otherwise. It seeks to remind us that life is short and that in this fleeting life, often a joy deferred is a joy lost. Listen to Otherwise. I got out of bed on 2 strong legs. It might have been otherwise. I ate cereal, sweet milk, ripe, flawless peach. It might have been otherwise. I took the dog uphill to the birch wood. All morning I did the work I love. At noon I lay down with my mate. It might have been otherwise. We ate dinner together at a table with silver candlesticks. It might have been otherwise. I slept in a bed, in a room with paintings on the walls, and planned another day just like today. But one day I know it will be otherwise. She wrote these beautiful words just months before she herself was diagnosed with a terminal cancer that quickly took her life. But one day I know it will be otherwise. And in a similar vein, spiritual vein, a few months ago while I was out biking in Vero Beach, Florida with some of my cycling buddies, my friend Cliff told about going to a car dealer with a troublesome automobile he had purchased sometime before and being offhandedly told by the service manager, hey buddy, your warranty is about to expire. And he kind of took that to mean even my personal warranty was about to expire. That's what he was thinking when the guy said, your warranty is about to expire. And we all laughed because we realized, yeah, our warranty, our 5,000 miles, 5-year, 50,000 mile warranty is about to expire. When my first knee required replacement, I asked the doctor about the other knee and he said, you've got 10,000 miles left on that one. Your warranty, though, is about to expire. The whole spiritual point of Carpe Diem, of seizing the day, of living with joie de vivre, of not postponing pleasure, of taking joy and satisfaction and pleasure wherever and however life presents it, is the bottom line for us spiritually because, well, you all know, life is short. Or as the popular but trite expression goes, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Let me speak a little more personally just for a moment. As I approach this month, my 74th birthday, I am keenly aware and occasionally ruminating about my own mortality at this stage of life. I think more about death than I did at 40. My own mortality at this point is clear, and I'm reminded in 100 ways a day that I will not live forever. To compound all of this, someone in my family who's very close to me has recently been diagnosed with a rapidly advancing terminal illness. She is my age. Awareness of my own personal mortality doesn't make me horribly sad or depressed. It rather causes me to realize that poet Jane Kenyon was right. Eat that flawless peach and that sweet milk and cereal for today, for someday, tomorrow, it may be otherwise. How many of you, next slide, how many of you are aware of the ticker watch? It's spelled T-I-K-K-E-R, which is available for you online for just $59.99. Any of you know about this? The ticker watch is one American entrepreneur's contribution to helping you live with Carpe Diem. Here's how this unique timepiece worked. When you buy the watch, it comes with a simple questionnaire about your health and lifestyle habits. You know, things like your weight, whether or not you smoke, have diabetes or heart disease in your family, things like that. So then you are able to complete an actuarial calculation they provide on your own life expectancy, a guesstimate as to when you're going to leave the world, down to the day, month, and year. Then you enter all this information into the Ticker Watch website, and so begins a precise countdown of what's left of your life. So when you get the watch, it says you've got 14 years, 7 months, 4 days, and 3 minutes to live. Isn't that lovely? As one customer cheerfully writes in their brochure, I love when friends and coworkers ask me about my sleek-looking ticker watch because it gives me the opportunity to champion the concept and benefit of having a constant reminder of your impending death around your wrist. This is a promotion. It compels you to live. And this writer goes on, as a Catholic myself, I see it as a modern day equivalent to the skulls that medieval monks would keep on their desks. Indeed, nothing puts life more in perspective than death. What a recommendation. And the Ticker Watch sales pitch goes on by saying, the purpose of this watch is to remind you every day you look at it that time is your most valuable asset, and to waste it is to waste your life. Use this watch in the best possible way, whether it's finding a new job, exercising, eating a healthier diet, losing weight, reducing stress, or whatever you want to change in your life. And then the ticker people go on and say, being cautious about life can be good, as long as that caution does not prevent you from experiencing the wonderful things life has to offer. We must remember, these manufacturers tell us, it's called life expectancy, not death expectancy. At Ticker Company, we believe a fulfilling life is about taking chances, setting goals, leading a healthy lifestyle, and seeing what the world has to offer. We want and encourage you to lead a life that you never thought possible. So they put a positive spin on this macabre device. Can you imagine getting up every morning and saying, oh, I've only got 12 years left? I mean, what the hell is that? Next slide. And this is an important point I want to make. Practicing joyful Carpe Diem in your daily life is not the same thing as falling victim to selfish hedonism. Carpe Diem is the positive spiritual process of freely and responsibly taking joy as it passes. Hedonism is the selfish, narcissistic, and irresponsible acquisition of pleasure, regardless of the needs of others and the world at large. I am not saying in this sermon on Carpe Diem that we have some sort of spiritual license to recklessly devote our life to the taking of whatever immediate pleasure we want, never mind the needs of others in the world. But what I am saying with full and eager heart is, for God's sake, dive into life. When you see a brightly colored, inviting pile of aromatic leaves, just dive in like this chump. And there are 1,000 other ways to practice Carpe Diem. No matter where you live or how old or young or able you may be, all that is required is a heart and a body and a soul that is open to receive the joy and pleasure that wants to sing out to you at life. So carpe diem, dear friends. I won't whisper it like Robin Williams does. I'll say it loud. Carpe diem, carpe diem, carpe diem, because your warranty will expire and the ticker clock will come to an end. Carpe diem. Our closing hymn.
Our closing hymn is number 128 in the gray hymnal, For All That Is Our Life. Please rise in body or spirit and join us. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
You gotta wait for it.
For needs which others serve, as services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all life is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
I send you on your way this week with these words by my colleague Dennis Hamilton. This day mercifully presents itself open-handed. We have a reprieve. There is time yet to tell our loved ones we love them. There's time yet to tell those we have offended we are sorry. There is time yet to look upward to the soaring clouds, to follow the flight of birds, to trace the sun's path into the evening trees. There is time yet to bring our pain to a place of healing and to find wholeness and peace in its place. There is time to extend a hand. There is time to extend a heart. There is time to face in the mirror our own faces, our own prisons, our own freedoms. There is time to sing blues and gospel for the pain, alleluias for the praise, time to sing our thanks and time to sing out laughter. There is time to plan and to build, time to plot a conspiracy of love.
We now extinguish this flame. But not the light of hope and truth the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry forth in our hearts until we are together again.
Like to remind you, you're invited us in 15 minutes to hear from UUCF about their experience considering and implementing the 8th principle. This event will be in the sanctuary and on Zoom, and it will begin at 11:15. Those on Zoom, you stay on Zoom, so same Zoom space that you are in to attend the event. Please grab your coffee, meet us back 11:15. Childcare and children's activities will be provided. We're going to leave the chairs as they are, beginning of the service. Everyone, Carpe Diem, seize the day.